let's talk about the Creep tape.
Carnage, candy, everything you want and more. You choose.
So, leading into this, back in 2014, a little found footage film called Creep came out, and it came out with a nice surprise, and a lot of people liked it. And in 2017, they made a sequel called Creep 2, and there was a plan to make a Creep 3, but it never really came to fruition because I don't think they could come up with a good story to kind of flush out a whole hour and 20-minute film. So here now in 2024, we were able to get what's called the Creep tapes, which is on Shudder, and it is 6 different episodes, which all surround the titular character, the killer, known as Peach Fuzz to us, because we never actually get to know his real name. He does get called many different things throughout the movies and the episodes, but none of them are the same, so we don't really know anything, and we do find out one little nickname he has thanks to one of these episodes. But kicking things off, this does have Mark Duplass coming back to play the character of Peach Fuzz. And I would say in all 6 episodes of this, he does a fantastic job playing this character. He still comes across the same creepy, weird way that kind of makes him like that socially awkward killer, as they like to say in these movies. But I actually think he's really, really smart. And he has everything planned out meticulously. But that's just my opinion compared to what they say online. So we're going to dive in. We'll kick it off with episode 1, which goes by the title of Mike. And in this episode, Mark Duplass hires a film editor guy for $1,000, and what he needs him to do is an audition tape for him. And he comes down doing his audition, make sure you're filming, blah, 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 and he plays like a Dracula character. And this guy finds it a little bit cheesy, but he's still filming them, and then they're trying to do kind of like a casting reel so they can send it out to people. And throughout that whole thing, like, Mark Duplass can tell that this guy is not really believing that this character is good. So he eventually wants to get his money and leave. He says he can leave, but then he comes up with this great idea that he's going to pretty much say, oh, look at this, we can shoot a movie, it's the perfect thing. Right here, you were lured in by a man so you could film him for his fake acting audition. And then you saw an axe over there, but you never checked to see if it was real. It goes into some awesome, like, creep factor stuff of what you would expect from these movies. And Mark Duplass plays, like, that spin of a character perfectly in this. It's a lot of fun. Obviously, in each of these episodes, we do get a kill, and the most common weapon used throughout the whole season is his lovely axe. And in this one, he ends up hitting the guy with an axe multiple times. It's a lot of fun. This is probably the best episode you could kick this off with, because it's the closest thing to what you saw between kind of like Creep 1 and Creep 2, to let you know that it's still kind of the same stuff, but we'll see what's in store. So episode 2 is called Elliot, and in this one, Elliot is a character who is known for bird watching, and he's out looking for this very specific rare bird when he comes across a guy who had a parachute accident, and that guy is Peach Fuzz. So he wants to shoot a video so he can try to get like a claim, or maybe he's going to sue this company who let him fall out of the sky. And he keeps doing these weird, like, antic stuff that he always does in these movies. And makes the guy feel kind of awkward and wants to know, like, why are you out here? What are the chances? Oh my God, you're my savior. All this stuff. And really trying to, like, push the boundaries with this guy of creepiness, but also kind of seems like, hey, I really like you, I'm kind of into you, look what's right in front of you. And then the whole time he kind of keeps pushing that, like, you want to go after this great thing that's supposed to be the best thing in your life, but you have something great right in front of you if you could ever recognize it. And at the very end, he says, oh my God, look, there's the bird, blah, 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 and the guy goes out to look for it, comes up behind him with a bag, and smothers him, choking him out. This was another fun episode. It was a different side of this character of Peach Fuzz. You have to see him play, and I thought he did a good job in this one. So far, for me, this show was kind of a hit. We're good on 2 for 2 episodes from what I'm expecting in this series. Third episode is titled Jeremy, and in this one, Peach Fuzz, Mark Duplass plays the character of a priest, and Jeremy coming in as a guy who shoots like a show called Gotcha, where he meets with people and his goal is to go out of his way to kind of like haha, you didn't see that coming, now what you gonna do, tell me all about it type of thing, where he's trying to catch people off guard and see what kind of reaction they have. He pulls that stuff with Peach Fuzz, the priest, and the priest, he runs away, starts banging on the walls and stuff. Then he comes in and he explains to Jeremy that he knows what gotcha is, and this could be the perfect episode ever for him if they just work together. He's a priest, and he can show him the dark side of the priest that he's saying is out there, but there's really no proof. And he's going through showing him all this stuff, like, hey, let's sit on the couch, we're going to drink some alcohol. I want to show you this video of what happened to me and why I became a priest and how he murdered somebody. All this stuff to kind of make him seem uneasy. And eventually, Jeremy tries to get away. He goes to get in his car, finds out that the cords are ripped out thanks to Mark Duplass's character, and he comes up behind him and he kills him with an axe. So, episode 4, that one was entitled Brad. And in this one, he's hired a crime docu-series kind of guy to come meet him at this place because he wants to shoot something. And he acts like he's so proud to meet this guy finally. He's his favorite director of all time. All these like weird hinty stuff. But then he shows him a dead body in a room. And he tells him he can leave or they could shoot the greatest crime documentary ever. Because what they're going to do is try to go through the clues and figure out who killed this man. And, they move the body. He throws out his back. He asks this guy to help him move the body. They take it over to a grave that was pre-dug. And then he's like, here, you can shoot me when I'm throwing dirt in there. Eventually the guy gets a little nervous and finally gets kind of like, ooh, I think you're the killer, crap. And he goes to take off and leave. And then when he does, he runs over a body. So then he stops. And, of course, the character's right there behind him to chase him a little bit. And he brings him finally inside. And he shows him, like, trying to give him the opportunity to guess who the killer is in this documentary. Of course, he guesses that it's the character Peach Fuzz, but in all actuality, he shows him that the movie that he's been filming shows that the killer was actually Brad all along. But Brad knows, obviously, this isn't true. This guy is going to kill me. So then he goes to take off, and he perfectly set it up where a room was locked, and he wouldn't be able to get in the door. So then he goes in another room, and he sneaks over to a room that meets into that conjoining room, has a shovel already set up, ready to go, and goes in there and beats him with a shovel, kills him off screen, but you do see some blood and stuff on his face. That's the only thing I guess I wish was a little bit different with these is they're not overly bloody, which is fine, but some of the kills happen kind of off screen or they're not really showing much. I just kind of wish they had the budget to be able to do a little bit more because I feel like it could maybe hit a little harder in some of the things. Some of them they do just fine with though. Alright, number 5. Episode number 5 was called Brant. And this is a very, very weird episode that is not like any of the other episodes. And it kind of like starts to dive into the psyche of this character, Peach Fuzz, where he goes to a hotel room and he's going to meet a guy named Brant. Brant is running late and a random guy knocks on the door. He asks if he's so-and-so. They say no. He says, yo, you don't look like the person, neither do you. He goes, well, I could be the person you want to meet, but the guy doesn't want to go in that room, so then he leaves. And after this, you starts to kind of go through his stuff, and he finds the Peach Fuzz mask that he wears. And he's like, you're not supposed to be here. I said I could do this by myself. He tries hiding the mask. The lights go out. And he has kind of this whole it's like an inner turmoil where he's confronting himself. So it's him sitting on a bed, and it's a man wearing the Peach Fuzz mask sitting on the bed, which is technically him. And he's kind of talking to like his inner demons, like, hey, I don't need you to do this. I can do this on my own. But this Peach Fuzz character is just kind of there the whole time, like, you can't do this on your own. You need me. You cannot do this type of thing. Up into the point where he ends up tying himself up in a shower with running water on him, like he's kind of attacking him in a sense, but trying to get like information out of him. It's weird, like waterboarding thing a little bit. But then finally he hears knocking on the door. So then he gets up, he's like, oh, it's Brant. Brant finally showed up. And Brant says he's there, sorry he's late. And the character, Peach Fuzz, tells him, just wait. I think we can get the perfect shot when you come in. So count to 3 and then open the door. So he does the 1, 2, 3, opens the door. And Peach Fuzz is standing there with his mask on, and he overthrows the axe, smack right in the face, and the camera ends. Episode's done. Another fun episode. It was weird because you didn't know what you were getting yourself into in this sense with this episode, because it is all over the place, and you kind of have to dive into what you're seeing when you're watching it, but it gives you more information of like, okay, this guy is psychotic. It is all inside of him, and he is trying to figure out what's going on, but he also thinks he can do it on his own. It's a fun little episode to kind of get a little more into the psyche of this character. And then we get episode 6. And episode 6 to me is kind of like the most batshit crazy kind of episode when it comes to the Creep series. And this one's titled Mom and Albert. And in this one, we start where he's driving a vehicle and he's talking the whole time about Forrest Gump. And he ends up hearing banging or something, so he pulls over, opens up his trunk, and we see him stab a knife into the trunk multiple times, killing off this person that was in the trunk that he had already thought he killed. Kind of reminded me of like that scene from Goodfellas where you got Joe Pesci and he's just stabbing. But then he gets back in the vehicle and drives to his mom's house. And he tries to sneak in on her and scare her, but then she doesn't fall for it and tries to scare him. And they have like this really weird dynamic. So like she shows him his room, and in this new house she like built kind of what his old room was, put up his old CD player. He's got his little Wolfie doll, and this is where we find out that she nicknamed him Wolfie, which kind of goes along with all this Wolf Mask Peach Fuzz character stuff. And they're talking, and as everything seems kind of like it's normal, but he's also acting very distancy, almost like when he went home, he kind of reverts back to his childish behaviors. And then a man named Albert comes in, and in this point, he finds out that this is his mom's new boyfriend. And he does act almost like a kid. Like, he gets upset, he doesn't talk, he walks, he leaves, he strips naked and runs in the woods and hides till they find him. But then they go back to a table to go eat, and he acts perfectly normal. And he's doing like an interview on Albert, like, how'd you guys meet? What are you doing? Oh, you guys are fooling around. Like, all these really weird questions that you probably wouldn't ask your mother, especially at her age. And then she makes a comment about what he does to her boobs and kind of sets him off because, according to him, he breastfed on those for 6 years, and she flips out on him about, no, you didn't, you couldn't, you made me bleed, it was horrible, you made all this up in your head. And Albert, obviously sitting there kind of weird and awkward, says, hey, I noticed that your trunk's sitting a little low, you know, maybe there's something with the axle, and, you know, if you got a jack, we can fix it. So he says yes, and then they go out to the trunk, and then when he tells him to open it up to get the jack out, there's a dead body in there, and Albert doesn't really know what to do, and he's like, I was hoping I wouldn't have to show you this yet, you know, maybe it could have waited, it's kind of early in our relationship for you to know about this. And Albert goes to turn around, and he just walks away like, I don't know what to do here, but I'm going to pretend like it's normal, and he goes back to talk to the mom, and he comes up behind him wearing his wolf mask, half naked, doing a little thrusting like he always does, and he swings the axe in the back of his head. His mom's like, what are you doing? I liked him. Now look at this mess. You got to clean this up. And he promises to dig the hole, kind of showing that this is who he is, and his mom knows what he is, and that he does this stuff, and that she's on board because she's not going to turn him in. And she loves her son, obviously. So they go, and he had already pre-dug the hole, so he started laughing about that. They put him in, they cover it up, and you see them sitting there having a weird conversation, and then it ends off with him breastfeeding on his 80-year-old mother. So a really weird episode. You do get 2 kills in it, nice, and it does tap into more of the psychological stuff. Like, clearly he has something going on. This weird relationship with his mother has affected him, so when he sees her, he reverts back to a child. I don't want to lean too much into it, but it kind of acts like maybe he was tortured or maybe kind of sexually abused as a child by his mother, and that may have led to how he acts now, but clearly he still has some demons when he's around her, because he doesn't like when there's a new man in her life. When she talks about the boob thing, he flips out about it, and then ultimately they finish with the breastfeeding. So it was 6 new episodes. It is fun to kind of get a show with this character, because an hour and 20-minute movie isn't bad, but it does feel kind of stretched out with what they're doing. And with these 20-30-minute episodes, it's kind of nice because it's a short little stint, and we get to see one of the kills. It's like taking one of the tapes off the shelf from what you saw in the original stuff. But I wouldn't say they were all kind of like a knock out of the park, but they were all pretty good. Show as a whole, if I was to rate it out of 5 stars, I'd probably give it about 3.5. It sticks true to what the material is. It's the same kind of found footage shot. It's the same kind of horror. I do wish that he kind of used some other weapons occasionally, because I didn't think he was going to be tied to an axe after the first movie, but that does seem to be his weapon of choice. But he is very psychological, and like I said in the beginning, I do think that he's not really an awkward killer. He is clearly a tortured person who has a lot mentally wrong with him, but I also think he's an extremely smart killer, because when you're watching all these episodes, like, he's always bringing up movies, and it's like he's kind of playing off from these movies that he's seen to do these killings. And everything he does, for the most part, besides with Albert, is premeditated. Like, he knows who he's contacting. He knows these people are in need of money. He offers them $1,000 cash to come do a quick little shoot. And when they get there, he knows everything about them, from Creep 1 all the way through all the episodes. He knows what it is they do for a living, or like the gotcha guy, what he's doing. He's predetermined this, and he's always pushing the boundaries to see how far he can go to kind of get away and manipulate these people before they kind of hit like their breaking point. And then at that point, he knows he has to go in for the kill, and that's when he does. But then in some of them, you can see like he strategically places this weapon that he's going to use, whether it's the shovel or the axe, in all these locations where he knows he's going to put these people to be found. And that's exactly what happens. They wind up right where he wants them to be, in the state of mind that he wants them in, and he can kill them easily because he's already pre-planned all this ahead of time, which to me makes it very, very smart. It's not often that we get horror movies that are smart and make sense, and this is one of the ones where the movies make sense and they're smart, and now 6 episodes of a TV show and that makes sense. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about the Creep tapes. If you haven't seen them yet, like I said, they're on Shudder. Don't forget to give this a like, and don't forget to subscribe. And as always, rest in peace.